Before we begin today's video, I'd just like to remind folks that I run a Twitch channel. I use my Twitch to stream games, quizzes, countdowns, Q&As, and much more. So please make sure to follow me on Twitch to be notified every time I go live. Howdy folks, Jamboriki here, and welcome to another episode of Jamboriki Orange, the show where I let my patrons decide what I review. The options for this episode included Too Fast, Too Furious, A Cinderella Story, Dreamgirls, The Croods, A New Age, TMNT, and Barbie as Rapunzel. They chose TMNT. Many centuries ago, a great warrior tried to defeat his enemies by opening up a dangerous portal, but he ended up being cursed with immortality. Plus 13 monsters emerged from the portal, and his generals, who were like brothers to him, were turned into stone. Cut to modern day. Said warrior is now a man who goes by the name of Max Winters. He's just gotten hold of his stone generals, and has assigned the Foot Clan to find the 13 monsters. Meanwhile, Leonardo has been sent to South America to learn leadership. And Splinter won't let the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fight again until they've developed better teamwork. However, Raphael has been secretly playing vigilante at night. Leonardo returns to New York City and must bring his brothers together, so that they can uncover what Max is up to and stop a possible apocalypse. But it won't be easy when Raphael refuses to respect Leonardo as the Turtles' leader. TMNT is a film that assumes that everyone in its audience is already a huge fan of the Turtles. Sure, you'll get the gist of the Turtles' personalities and their team dynamic after a few scenes, and the main story is easy for anyone to follow. But I wouldn't be surprised if some people started asking loads of questions after hearing the opening narration. Because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a very weird premise, and the film's prologue is more of a series of vague bullet points than natural exposition.
4 brothers. Genetically reborn in the sewers of New York. Named after the great Renaissance masters, and trained as ninjas.
I get that hardcore fans would have become sick of the Turtles' mutation origin story by this incarnation, but TMNT is a theatrical movie that would have been seen by a wider audience, so I do think that good movie storytelling should have come before fan service for the film's prologue. I was also a little on the fence about the movie's animation. It's not bad or anything, the principles of weight and gravity are there, the rendering is decent enough, plus characters have strong expressive personalities. But I can't deny that it could have looked a lot better for a theatrical release. TMNT has a quarter of the typical budget for an animated Hollywood movie, and that really shows. Because when you compare TMNT's animation to other animated films that came out the same year, the difference in quality is glaring. That being said, the movie's action scenes are pretty damn fun. There's a kinetic liveliness to every fight, and the choreography has a raw tenacity. I also like how the movie is tactical about when a martial arts sequence is necessary. We're not given fight after fight because the story is coming first. When an action scene suddenly takes place, it's more rewarding because the narrative has earned it. However, the core of this film is a theme of brotherhood. Leo's absence and Splinter's banning of fighting have completely shifted the Turtles' lifestyles. Not only do they miss Leo, but they've taken paths away from their superhero duties. Donatello has become an IT consultant, criminally underusing his amazing engineering skills. Michelangelo is now a punching bag for children's parties, when he could be using his comic relief skills to boost team morale, but it's Raphael who has been affected by these changes the most. He's deeply conflicted over his bitter jealousy of Leo's special attention from Splinter, and sad nostalgia towards the good old days.
You know, I don't even care about Leo anymore. I hope he never comes back.
Come on, aren't you being a little hard on the guy?
I don't know, it's possible.
It's obvious that he's eating himself up, letting his envy, fear and insecurities get to him. He tries to feel empowered as the Night Watcher vigilante, an attempt to reinvent himself while hiding his vulnerability under metal armor. But it's an alter ego that pushes him away from his brothers and intensifies his dark immaturity.
Hey, I was training to be a better leader for you! Why do you hate me for that?
And whoever said I wanted to be led? I'm better off calling my own shots now. Get used to it.
This is where Leo comes in. He now has an opportunity to put his training to the test and prove that he can be a good leader by getting Raphael to change his ways. However, he can't just get mad at Raphael's stubbornness, because leadership isn't just about bossing around others. He has to help Raphael see how his rage is bringing out the worst in him, and I have to commend the film for how it shows Leo making his point. He doesn't say a single word, he just calmly lets Raphael see what he's becoming. It's a very powerful moment of silence for the brothers. This isn't a mindless action film, it's a deep movie about self-awareness, maturity and growth. The supporting characters of Splinter, Casey and April are used very well for the story at hand. They genuinely want the Turtles to all be their best selves, have close bonds as brothers, and eventually reunite as a crime-fighting team. The love from everyone is always there.
You are strong, passionate, and loyal to a fault. These are the merits of a great leader as well, but only when tempered with compassion and humility.
Even though our supporting characters have their own lives to live or problems to solve, they still take the time to be guides for the Turtles, acting as responsible adults to these growing teenagers. But they're not just voices of reason who stay in the sidelines for the whole film. When the villain's plan starts coming into fruition, all three of them step into the ring and expand the Turtles' family by fighting side by side with them.
Sensei! Are you alright?
We must do this more often. I still got it.
So what about the villains of the movie? Max Winters is a unique kind of antagonist. You could even argue that he's not actually a villain. He's quite imposing and the film often frames him in a menacing light, but we eventually learn that he's capturing all these monsters to send them back through the portal, all so he can redeem himself.
I must return all 13 beasts, or our curse will continue. And that is a torment I can no longer bear.
He's a tragic character, because his immortality is a curse. He's lived his long, long life with the guilt of his mistake, and will die a happy man if he can just reverse what he did. I did find myself feeling for him, because he means no ill will, and he's a potential hero in his own right. There's also Karai, who has taken over Shredder's Foot Clan, and now works for Max Winters. Even though she's following the orders of the film's antagonist, unlike the Foot Clan's former leader, she's not all about gaining power, but protecting the reputation of the Foot Clan.
Now I'm sorry that your illustrious group have been reduced to hired guns, but I leave. We made a deal, Karai, and I expect you to honor it. You do understand honor, don't you?
So yeah, again, we have yet another character who isn't technically a cruel baddie. I like that the antagonists of this film aren't full-on villains, because it shows that a character doesn't have to be conventionally evil to get in our hero's way. The real villains are Max's generals, who don't see things Max's way, going as far as calling him weak for doing the right thing. They're very effective enemies, because they're creepy, immortal creatures made of stone, and cannot be easily defeated. What makes these villains special though is how their relationship with Max reflects Leo's conflict with Raphael. Much like Leonardo, Max has good intentions as a leader, but his brothers aren't cooperating because they've become obsessed with retaining their pride. Just like Raphael. In a way, the generals embody everything that Raphael could become, hence why Leo is so eager to help his brother. To conclude, I can see why this film has kind of faded from the mainstream eye and become an oddity in animation cinema history. It caters to hardcore fans more than casual audiences, the animation is cheap looking and hasn't aged well, plus the story itself is rather oversimplistic for a movie about an impending apocalypse. It's a shame that these glaring flaws push people away from the movie though, because when you put aside these issues, you can really appreciate it as a moving film about brotherhood and redemption, a poignant tale of divided families that explores the value of being humble and the importance of learning to work with others. I don't think it's a masterpiece, but I do believe that critics were a bit too harsh on it. So, what am I going to be reviewing in the next episode of Jamboree Orange? Well, that's entirely up to my patrons. The options for next episode's poll include Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2014, G.I. Joe the Movie, Masters of the Universe 1987, Rainbow Bright and the Star Stealer, Gem and the Holograms, and the Care Bears movie. That's a pretty awesome selection, am I right? Now don't forget that you have to be a patron in order to access this poll. What is a patron? Don't worry, I'll explain.
This is my Patreon. It's a site for my fans to support me financially on through a monthly basis. Those who donate are called patrons. Patrons can donate as much as they want and are welcome to stop donating anytime. In return for their generosity, patrons are given exciting rewards based on their pledge amount. These rewards include early access to my videos before they go up publicly on YouTube, behind the scenes content, their name in the end credits of my videos, a chance to request a review of anything at all, and much more.
I'm very excited to find out what my patrons end up picking. Cheerio, folks.